What's up, everybody? See that? It's daylight. Something you don't see a lot of, ironically, when you work on day shift. But on night shift, when you're up at 11 in the morning, you actually do. You know, that's one of the most ironic things about so-called day shift and so-called night shift. See, I've worked day shift jobs before where you go in before sunrise and you come home after sunset. So ironically, even though it's day shift, you might actually see more daylight on night shift than day shift. So, fun stuff. Alright, let's quit looking through the blinds here and get to what we're actually going to do. Great reviews come in all sizes. Take it from a geek. Another Newegg box came in today. Nothing too expensive, but basically what's been going on is it's been hotter out and Tuxedo does not have heating problems, but what I'm running into with my main system is that anytime I play any games, when the temperature's above 60, the video card fan just goes ballistic. It's not so much my processor's pretty quiet, but the MSI video card that I have these days has an itty-bitty 60mm cooling fan, and when that spins up, you hear it right through the case. I'd much rather have the quiet hum of bigger fans spinning at lower RPMs than any smaller fans. That's what I've got in here. Some new fans for Tuxedo. We're going to talk about, air cooling PCs and things a bit as well. I've never messed with water cooling before. Never really was a big fan of it. Didn't want to have to worry about leaks or whether my or have a computer with a radiator. I might try it one of these years, but I don't overclock or anything silly like that. So I'm not really big on, okay, let's quit staring at the box and just get these freaking fans out. Wait. I just got a crazy idea. How about instead of opening this box the normal way, we get some practice in for tonight? Yeah, the folks at this place have started me out on the dumbest. The folks at this place have started me out on the dumbest tasks in the building. Basically, they want to see if I can do this stuff. Let me get this blades out long enough. There we go. They want to see if I can handle the stupid stuff before they show me anything else. That's the way these places usually work. So, need more practice. Smile, it's here. Yeah, I was trying to open this like we would there, but this knife isn't the same and I didn't have the blade out far enough. Here, let's get the packing slip out of the way. Again, paper bag stuff. So the thing is, where did this order come from? Let me check the packing slip here. Oh, brother. Ship from. Is there a ship from on here, or do I have to go find the label? Because I peeled the label off, of course. Whittier, California. It's impressive that Newegg got this box out here. It's impressive that Newegg got this box all the way across the country, even though we had the 4th of July holiday and stuff, but I'm not impressed that now other Newegg locations are using paper bag stuff to stuff their boxes with and doing this. See this? Look at this. It's a good thing these are fans. If they were CPUs or video cards, I'd be even more ticked. Now just look at it. Let's look at it, against the bottom. Okay, so what do we got here? So we've got obviously Cooler Master. We've got some 3-prong fan extension cables because these are going to go on. These are going to go on the case. A 140mm fan. I just hope it doesn't draw too much current and fry my motherboard. That's been a problem with. Historically that's been a problem with big fans and motherboard connectors. And lastly, a sure sign that I bought something from Newegg, a 4-pack of 120mm fans. Cooler Master Silent Fan 120 S12, 1200 RPMs. 19 dBA. They're 30,000 hours of operation. I know they're sleeve-bearing fans, so they're actually the worst kind of fan out there. But I've been using sleeve-bearing fan. Oh, check it out! It's a little punch. It's got this little punch box thing. It's like a little not punch box. I broke it. Shoot. But if I did that correctly, it would have been a nice little lunchbox type thing for these fans. Value packs of cooling fans. What is this world coming to? Yeah, that's got geek written all over it. Fan size, 12 volts, 0.15 amps, blah, blah, blah. Hopefully I don't fry my motherboard with these things. Goodbye, box. Alright, let's get the rest of this open. Yeah, pretty basic stuff, except instead of 1 packet of screws, you have 4. I'm not going to use all these fans at once, so I'll keep a couple around for spares, but it's just funny that, these parts manufacturers are selling fans for computers in value packs. Yeah, you can tell that the target audience is geeks. Buy a 4-pack of cooling fans on sale at Newegg. Let's take this over and start putting these things in. Alright, Tuxedo's been pulled out and put up on the desk. Now let's look at the mess I've had to deal with it. Now this was kind of like an interim solution here. I didn't really think that putting two 92mm fans on the side of the door like this would be a long-term solution. But basically what's going on is, of course, the processor's underneath this one and the video card's underneath this one. And if things get too hot and there isn't enough airflow, the fans on these units will spin up. And of course, the way fans work, for those of you, I realize all the computer builders out there that are watching, get the power cord out and push the power button to drain all the remaining power in the system. Alright, I realize a lot of you folks who build computers are going to be snoring at some of this, but for the new people, the way cooling fans work is you want the biggest fans to be doing most of the work. You always want your biggest fans to be doing most of the work because bigger fans don't have to spin as fast to move the same cubic feet of air per minute. So, you know, your CFM, that's what that CFM number is for those of you that aren't familiar with it. So, you know, I had a friend in college. He built a computer once, and his computer was like a freaking hairdryer. You know, he had a big, huge water-cooled full tower, and he wanted to cut down to a mid-tower case. And the problem he ran into was the Antec case that he selected only had 60mm cooling fans. So his computer wound up sounding like a whiny hairdryer because of the itty-bitty fans. Yeah, so why don't we go down after we take a look at this, what we have now and what we're replacing, and I'll show you on the Silver Bullet, you know, how I learned this lesson, because that case actually had only slots for 80mm fans. Nowadays, these case manufacturers are smarter and they put in 120mm fans, so fun stuff. Okay, this is the cooling fan. It's been in here since I got the case. It's the one that came with the case. It's a pretty decent fan, but I'd rather have all the same kinds of fans in here for chassis fans and case cooling. So I'm going to pull this one out, put one of the Cooler Master 120 mils here. Down here, unfortunately, is only an 80mm, as are the drive cages. They only have 80mm slots, so I'd like to avoid putting a fan there if possible, except maybe a Vantec Stealth, although Vantec Stealths don't really push a lot of air. There's the video card we're talking about, one of these MSIs with the huge heat sinks and stuff. Huge heat sink, but the fan's really itty-bitty. There is a country song about how it's right to be a little bitty, but not when it's a fan inside a computer, because the smaller fans make more noise, and of course stock heat sink on the Phenom too. So what I'd like to do is do as much as I can with huge fans so that these things don't have to spin up any more than absolutely necessary. So let's start fiddling with some stuff here. My interim solution until these fans came in to shut the machine up was to add a little bit more noise in the form of 92mm fans blowing on the CPU and the GPU. This one down here is a Sunon. Sunons are infamous for being very whiny and drony, so this is where most of the noises come from. I didn't like having to put this back into a system. And then a Vantec Stealth. Vantec Stealths are among the quietest fans out there. They also push the least amount of air. So if you just want a gentle breeze through your case, this is what you use. These are old fans too. These are from the early 2000s. One more thing to make note of. Let's get this thing out of the way. One big thing that's changed since I first started building computers: power supplies and motherboards that control fan speeds based on temperature. We didn't have that. My first computer didn't have that back when I built it in the early 2000s. We were rocking a PC Power and Cooling Silencer Mark II 750-watt power supply. Of course, as usual, that's only maximum power. This thing actually only uses 100 watts. I could probably add a second video card without too much trouble. Anyways, that's something that's all new. Yeah, pardon the spaghetti. The important stuff is clear at least, but I should probably get some cable ties going in here. But yeah, that's a big thing that's changed. You used to have to buy a fan controller and manually control your fan speeds and watch your temperatures, but more recent motherboards nowadays have they can actually control the RPMs of the fans based on the temperature sensor on the CPU, on the motherboard, things like that. So the fan connectors on most motherboards these days can be controlled, can control the speed and the power supply if it's in the right spot. You know, the last power supply I had before this PC power and cooling stuff had a dedicated fan-only power circuit. And based on the temperature that it sensed, usually, you know, this is before we had all these dust sucker cases where the power supply is down on the bottom and sucks all the dust in from whatever you have something sitting on. The more traditional ATX case puts the power supply up top so it can suck in the heat from this area and then blow it out the back. So it's just the old design that goes all the way back to quite some time ago. But yeah, I've actually had power supplies that can control the speed of the fans based on the temperature inside the case. So largely fan controllers these days, unless you overclock, have kind of become irrelevant. But I might mess with one at some point just for fun. Alright, let's start putting some stuff in here. Oh crap. Problem number 1 already. The main fan for the case plugs in between the sound card and the video card, so I might have to pull the sound card to get it to fit. Oh, joy. What kind of engineers come up with these motherboard designs? Alright, sound card and case fan are out. Scythe S-Flex. Okay. Let's replace this with all Cooler Master stuff. Okay, Cooler Master fans in. Hey, check out that hologram in the middle. Watch this. Far out, dude! Spin it the other way. Check it out, man. That's so trippy. Peace, love, hug a couple trees, man. Nice design with the hologram. I like that. As if this computer doesn't, I'm just thinking like some, you know, there's a little bit of Rube Goldberg in there. You know, you ever see those little Rube Goldberg machines with all kinds of weird stuff doing things? I mean, just this whole hologram pattern just adds a little bit of Rube Goldberg to something as mundane as a case fan. Let's get some more of these things installed. Alright, sound card's back in. Now we just gotta plug all the sound stuff back in afterwards. Next is going to be these extension cables. They're 18 inches, probably overkill, but the reason why I want to put these fan cable extenders in here is because the other 2 fans are going to be going on the door of the case, and I want to have the option of disconnecting them without having to go in with a set of really tiny pliers. Where the heck's that connector? Oh, way down here. And mess with little bitty fan connectors on the motherboard like that. There's another one too. Let me see if I can find it for you. Oh yeah, there it is. No, you're not even able to see this. Look at this crap. You can see the capacitor if it'll stay in focus. Maybe I should get a flashlight. But right about, nope, north of the capacitor. Gotta navigate the motherboard like it's a map. Yeah, see that? It's flickering in and out. That is a fan connector. Yeah. Do I want to reach in there every single time I open the case because I either want to unplug the fan on purpose or I accidentally unplug the fan? No, of course not. Hence the cables. Let's put them in. There, that's more like it. Found my work light too. Got to go in here and it made plugging these things in a lot easier. Check it out, it's like snakes coming out of the case. Yeah, I'd better have enough cable length now to not have to plug anything into those ever again. Alright, there's our 140mm fan, again with the psychedelic hologram design. Bit concerned though. It's got a 3-prong adapter, but not a good sign. My number 1 concern with this fan is that if it draws too much current, it could fry the motherboard, the motherboard's fan port, or even the motherboard itself. So let's cross our fingers after we get this thing installed. Not exactly what I had in mind. But as it turns out, I am short 1 row of honeycomb shapes in order to fit a 120mm fan on that bottom grill. Now if I can buy like a keyhole metal file or something like that and grind out some space to put the screws, it'll fit. But I don't have one of those right now, so maybe I'll stop by the hardware store later on and pick something up for that. But for now, we'll just go with this. We'll go with this and see if this works. And then I'd rather not put a 92mm back in because that would just that'd be higher RPMs and louder and whinier. So let's just see how all this works, and if it works at all, given the amount of current these large fans often draw. Moment of truth is here. Plugging in the power. We don't get a smoke show. I think we got ourselves a computer. 3, 2, 1. The 140mm fan isn't spinning, and the 120mm is hitting something. Nope, not working. Alright, I've got the 120mm plugged in where the 140 was plugged in. Let's see if I blew the fan port. Okay, that's working, and yep, fan port's blown. Son of a... Well, does the computer still boot? Or maybe it's just the extension cable. That's gotta be the hardest one to get at. Okay, we'll let the computer boot up, and then we'll shut it down, and then let's see if it's the extension cable that didn't work right. Okay, known good Vantex Stealth fan is plugged directly into the fan port, which I might have just blown with that 140mm fan. See, here's what I don't get. Why do they make fans that big that draw that much current and then put a 3-prong pin on them? Why don't they just make them 4-prong only? I've seen some companies do that. So let's see what happens when we push the button now. Okay, we just have a bogus cable. Well, that's good. Okay, so the cable wasn't DOA, I just didn't have it plugged in all the way, and of course it didn't spin. So let's take this cable, it's plugged in, let me just make sure with the Vantex Stealth before we go hooking the big fans back up. Alright, let's make sure these both work this time, and push the button! Okay, good. Let's hook the real fans back up and try this again. Okay, take 2. Both fans need to spin without hitting any wires, and no smoke and fire, hopefully. 3, 2, 1. That's more like it. Now the bottom one isn't spinning. These cables are really being a pain in the neck. Alright, now I think one of those cables is a bit loose. Let's try this again. Both fans are spinning! Okay, let's see if the computer works properly with them. And then we'll turn everything off and put the computer back where it goes and see how much noise we're dealing with here. Still spinning, that's good. I'm really liking this 140mm fan though, because if you put your hand up against it, you can actually feel the suction from all the air that it's blowing in. This is actually probably doing more to cool the processor and everything than this thing is. You know, I should find a case where you got this kind of grid, but it goes all the way down, so I can just put 2 of these, one on top of another, and do some direct intake stuff that way. But I'd have to find a case with that kind of setup for it. I don't really think this case was designed to have fans mounted on it this way, but what the heck, it works. Hillbilly computer systems. Anyways, let's do a noise test after putting this thing back where it belongs. Okay, all is quiet. What have we wrought here in terms of noise? Just what I was looking for. Just a quiet little hum. No or anything like you'd get with a smaller, higher RPM fan. Nice. Alright, there we go. Let's give it the old Skyrim test. Staring at some waterfalls, lots of activity going on the screen. Mr. and Mrs. Dovahkiin and the horse. Standing there, watching the sun, watching the waterfalls, whatever. And let's kill the AV receiver. Not bad for sound. I think under the right circumstances, my gaming PC might be quieter than some consoles. Alright. Let's put the air conditioning back on. It is July after all. Nice. Hopefully this cuts down on the whininess of some of the smaller fans inside this system. Till next time, this is MultimediaJay, signing off. Thanks for stopping by.